It's the Real News Network. I'm Sharmini Pires coming to you from Baltimore. 2 weeks ago in Brazil, one of the main judges presiding over the corruption investigation, his name was Theory Zavascki, died in a plane crash shortly before he was going to evaluate the testimony of the former Odebrecht employees. Now, Odebrecht employees gave testimony against their senior officials, and some 100, maybe 200 politicians are implicated in the testimony provided by the company. Odebrecht is one of the largest construction companies the world over, but particularly in Brazil, and they are tied up in the scandal called the car wash scandal. Now, the case has moved forward on the authorization of Brazil's Chief Justice, and it is estimated that many more politicians could face indictment, including politicians who are close to President Michel Temer. Now joining us from Rio de Janeiro to take a closer look at what happened in Brazil is Joao Feres Jr. Joao is a political science professor at the State University of Rio de Janeiro, where he also heads the Laboratory for Media and Public Sphere Studies. Thanks again for joining us, Joao.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, as a matter of fact.
Joao, now, first of all, tell us what you know about what happened in terms of the plane crash and the death of the judge.
Yeah, I know. It's very hard to establish what happened. I mean, I just saw this post on Facebook the other day saying that, what's the odds of a plane with a Supreme Court justice fall, right? And then what's the odds of a plane that has a justice that is actually, presiding over the Lava Jato case fall? You know what I'm saying? So it's very, dim. I mean, the probability of having a plane with this justice falling. And particularly in the time in which he was about to accept in the lawsuit the depositions, the testimonies of Odebrecht and of its employees, because it is known already, because there was a leak of these testimonies that was not produced by Sergio Moro, the judiciary, or by the federal prosecutors, but came from elsewhere, and nobody knows exactly where it came from, where it originated. And this leak pointed to many politicians in the current government, PMDB politicians, and also major figures of the PSDB part, of the PSDB, which is the main opposition party. So, as a matter of fact, the testimonies of Odebrecht, they probably will involve in the investigations, mostly politicians from, the current government. And that's going to be a turn of events if that ever happens, right? Because, now that he's dead, the president of the Supreme Court, Carmen Lúcia, will redistribute the lawsuit and will fall. They have a lottery over there, and which is supposedly a lottery, and there will be another justice appointed to that particular lawsuit.
Now, Joao, who's carrying out the investigation of the plane crash, and how reliable will those findings be?
I think the federal police is also investigating. There was, some news right after the accident that a website with the model of that particular airplane, that was a very, small but fancy airplane, this businessman who was friends with Theory had, and the website that contained this, the specs for the airplane and stuff like that, was accessed like 1,200 times in one day. It was like 2 weeks before the accident, and that was a spike in the accesses of that particular site. But that's just some conspiracy theories.
All right, Joao, I thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.